Welcome to the Rarely Typical Players podcast. This week, I am hosting the from the podcast from my end. Today is our first. Well, first, let me introduce our other host. Right to the left on the screen, we have D757 Gaming,
What up, y'all? What's going on?
and on the right side of the screen, we have Marlon Unjaded.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Today's our first discussion episode for the podcast. Normally we do game reviews, but this time was our first time to do the topic. So this week's topic was why RPG Maker is the best engine, or why it may not be as well. But I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about it. We have a few. So first of all, like maybe we should start this off so. How did you guys first get into RPG Maker? Like, what drew you to it in the first place?
I could start.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The OGs, know RPG Maker from PlayStation. So me and my friend, we love RPG Maker games. So we grew up on the Final Fantasy, the Chrono Trigger, and all that good stuff. And we wanted to, we wish at this time before RPG Maker came out, we wish that we could create our own RPG, right? Then boom, RPG Maker came out, right, for the PlayStation. So we always had high hopes and stuff like, man, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But the interface was so confusing for the PlayStation 1. So, our hopes kind of died down because it was just too complicated and too time consuming to make a game, using that engine. But lo and behold, we have the RPG Maker that we have today for the PC, and things are different. So that's basically how I got started into and knowledgeable with the RPG Maker genre because of the PS1 version.
Yeah, I remember playing the PS1 version, and I also I got started on the PC version pretty early, and it was for the same reason. I had played these really classic games, and I said to myself, like, hey, I really want to make a game like that, like somehow. And of course, in the early days, I used the illegally translated version of RPG Maker by Don Miguel in like early 2000-ish. And then made a bunch of games. I mean, my first games are kind of a joke, but over time I became more serious with it, and so that's what I'm working on now with Starshift and other games. I'm going to work on other games too, but for now that's what I'm working on. And I just felt this would be a good, discussion topic. What about you, MJ?
All right. So, yeah, kind of in the same boat as y'all around back in early 2000, Jesus, had to be 2001. I was like young, probably like 15. And I remember looking at the translated version. I know it was illegal, right? I don't know. I remember floppy disks. I had to download my game onto floppy disk. Reason why, look, hold on, let me back up. I do remember RPG Maker being on PlayStation, but I ain't have enough money to play it, or buy it, or have a PlayStation. My aunt had a PlayStation. That's the only way I played PlayStation until she took it to college with her. So, yeah, that's my experience. I didn't get my own PlayStation until I was like 17 or 18. I had to buy that joint. Anyway, I found out that you can get it on a computer. My experience with it was bad because of my mother, but like good because I don't know, self-discovery, right? I used to make music. Shit, are we getting into history? Where the hell are we going with this?
Yeah.
I my mom bought us a computer and I found it on the computer, just randomly like browsing the web. And I had to download that joint took like a day to download over American Online. Um Long story short, I started off with RPG Maker 2000, and I got a mean long ass story to tell, but I ain't gonna waste no time. But yeah, I started with 2000 and stopped at 2003, and then got back in it for like RPG Maker MV, and yeah, now I'm still here.
Nice, cool. Well, let us, I guess, go into our slides of like so. Is RPG Maker the best? And we'll go through these different like categories and discuss. So let's see. Um, Technical capabilities. So is RPG Maker the best when it comes to like its technical capabilities? I would say no. Um, but it's got a lot of capabilities. Like so I kind of want to go into some of the technical capabilities of it. Like if someone was like say gonna choose it as an engine, right? Like one good thing that it has going for it is that it's cross-platform, meaning like if you make a game in the newer versions of RPG Maker, like it will work on like web or Windows or Mac or even consoles, even though that takes a little bit of work, but it's possible. And so that's something that's really good about it. It also like when it comes to like the, you can put full code in it like JavaScript, right? And JavaScript is a very like there's a lot of resources out there for it. So it's like if you're trying to like just pick something up and start developing and something that's pretty easy, it's good. But if we're talking about raw technical capabilities, I'd say it does fall short in a number of areas, like as far as like multi-core 3D, other the more like robust stuff that you might see in an engine like Unreal or an engine like Unity, but it's not necessarily trying to be that either. But as far as like the technical capabilities of the engine, it does give you it is a specialized tool, right? So because it's literally called RPG Maker, and RPG Maker is a type of game. There's strategy games, there's shooters, and RPG is a type of game. So it kind of keeps you on rails for like the technical capabilities kind of keep you on rails in the context of making an RPG versus making another type of game. But in terms of raw capabilities, I think it does fall short of compared to some other engines. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
What you think, D7?
All right. So RPG Maker, hence the word maker. All right. Starter kit. Right. It's supposed to give you the bare bones. The minimum requirements that you need in order to create an RPG. You have your database with your stats, your standards, your creative character, and it teaches you from ground zero all the way to your higher potential in creating a game. So it's not meant to be technical in terms just like Unity, which is a little bit more, you need a little bit more knowledge, but RPG Maker is just the groundbreaking tool to get started out in game developing. And the RTP gives you the bare necessities that you need in order to like become knowledgeable in what programming RPG games. It helps you start off. That's why I call it the dummies program to create a RPG as a developer, because you need no skills or anything in order to start this journey. So it's kind of like ground zero. Where can I begin in order to be knowledgeable of what it requires to create a video game, period.
Yeah, I would differ a little bit in saying like it do require some skill. Like the skill is kind of entry level and a little more common. But like yeah, you don't need programming knowledge to make an RPG, but you do need to understand some things like how to manage a file system, how to set parameters, how to manage certain game mechanics and and in variables. You need to know how variables work, right? You need to understand how switches work, certain things. That's like certain control structures from a programming language. Man, like case statements and stuff like that. Oh goodness. Um, so if you want to make any sort of RPG like functional, you would need to know some of these like concepts. So there's a little bit of knowledge involved. Um, Let me stop for a second and just to mention that we got 10 people in the chat. If y'all want to mention, you know, why you think RPG Maker is the best engine, let me know your thoughts and technical as far as technical capabilities. What do you think are the shortcomings of the engine? Um, but as far as I'm concerned, I think yeah, technical capabilities. It's not its strong suit. Um, RPG Maker being like a pretty good entry level engine is probably where it shines.
And you
Um,
and also too, you can like go all the way. I mean, you can go total fancy with it and totally code something custom yourself in it. But it's not necessary to get started, which is nice, right?
for sure. But as far as when I see the topic technical capabilities, I'm thinking about, man, does it support multiplayer? Does it support multiple controllers? Can you do online multiplayer? Can you port your game to different platforms? It's got a little bit of that, but you can't like. I don't think you can build it for Switch. Um, certain engines can do that. Certain engines can build it for PS4 and all that, but you can't do that for RPG Maker.
Oh, you can.
You have to.
You can. Yeah.
RPG Maker
So,
games are on the Switch.
Yeah. You can.
right. So,
Then the reason why is because RPG Maker is actually web based. So when it does work on Switch, when it does work on PlayStation, when it does work on Xbox, what it's actually doing, and also frankly what it's doing on Windows and Mac, is it's opening up kind of like an invisible shell of a web browser, Chrome, and then it uses the nw.js framework to run it in that window. So
all right, check this out. Hey. I'm sorry. I know RPG Maker games can be on Switch. I've played them, and I know they can be on PS4 too. And I also downloaded a wrapper for the RPG Maker to play on Android. Right?
yeah,
There was a wrapper. So I know that, right? But that's external. Okay. When I go to file deployment right now, I opened it up. You got Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android web browsers, right? You don't have Switch, you don't have PS4 as those options. So I'm not arguing. I'm just like that's the engine that's the engine capability. If you open up Godot, I know they got other options. I think one of them is like a Switch. Pixel Game Maker MV I think has like Switch. But it might be rudimentary, but at least like that option's there.
Also, just letting you know, in MZ they took out the option for Linux, but you can still get it to work on Linux. You just have to download the Linux nw.js manually and put a web version of it in it.
Dang, so that's
the Apple Silicon, because I think that the default deployment for macOS might be like still set up for the older like Intel Macs. So if you get the newer NWJS and do it manually, you can get it working on the modern Macs too. So yeah.
Yeah, and the proper like debugging capabilities, I don't know. Yeah, they are non-existent. Okay, they're non-existent
Well,
unless you're going
the
in the
console. There's the console.
yes, the Chrome console with which is in the Chromium browser, right?
Yeah.
And that is okay. That's just any web browser.
Right.
That's it's still not like built in. It's not built into
Right.
RPG Maker, right? So it is like using Chromium. Yep, it's a web-based structure, so that's why JavaScript works and stuff like that. So it's almost like by default it has something, but it's not like built in. It's not like if you open up Godot, that console window is like right there. And then you can log things. Everything you're logging is like you have to go into some sort of like the script. You have to go to write the script tag to say console.log, but nobody's getting that like from, no experience. Just go, okay, click. I got log. You know what I mean? So that's a shortcoming. And also, you ever try to pack your project? I'm sure you have Psychronic, right? You have pack your project for Windows or whatever, and like a file's missing, right? Yeah. There's this option to like exclude unused files, but that never works properly, right? That's broken. So it doesn't work properly.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't account for images used in plugins and stuff like that. It can help you debloat, but you literally will have to go and play your game all over again to make sure there's no missing files. Also, some operating systems have case sensitivity and some don't. So sometimes I've been like, everything works fine on Windows, but then on Linux it crashes, or on Mac it crashes because the file name is case sensitive on one and not on the other, So.
Right. And in the game, okay, so technical capabilities, it's I just immediately start thinking about like its shortcomings, because I know like what it can do, right? One of the like I think biggest pros is like rapid prototyping. I think for any kind of game you want to play, like you could throw together, a game in 30 minutes, at least visually with some inputs and stuff like that. Especially for single player games, it's there. But like I said, that's where, okay, two people playing a certain genre game, you just can't make it. It would be highly difficult. You might want to go into Pixel Game Maker or something like that, but it would take a lot of heavy lifting to change a RPG Maker engine to something, something that will work for a different genre. Like if you wanted a top-down action RPG or something like that, it'll work. You can make it work. And I think that's where plugins come in, which I think the community has enhanced RPG Maker's technical capabilities substantially. And I think that's where I kind of flock to it, because I know like, hey, I know what kind of game I want to make. Let me see if somebody already made like some sort of cursor plugin or something like that. And a ton of people have. So it's like, that's where I get excited about the engine.
Yeah,
and that's where I like it.
Yeah, me too. So because like that's partially why I've kind of stuck with it. Is also like when you're looking for like resources, like a feature you want to add into your game that doesn't come like with the engine. There is like a lot of plugins out there that people have made, and then you can get off the ground quicker to get to the features you want in your game faster because of that support. But it's not always there as well, but it's there more than I've seen in a lot of other situations, like when I'm looking for stuff on my own project and stuff. And now being able to like make stuff on my own or with other assistants, whereas before I was not able to, is like really opening things up now. So
yeah, let me get some of the input from the chat. We got Annoyed Nova, who said there's no best engine, just the best tool for the job you're trying to do. Okay. Siegfried says, and at absolute worst, it's still good for prototyping in my opinion, and that's worst case scenario. So we mentioned prototyping. Yes, I agree. Joe Nerico says, for a breaking ground engine for a breaking ground engine, it sure hides a lot of its cooler gameplay stuff under a lot of backwards complicated steps. I can see where you're coming with that frustration. Harlequin says, Nova already said it. If you want to build an MMO, you're not going to go RPG Maker. You can do a heck of a lot of things with RPG Maker, but you choose the engine right for the game you're trying to make, not the other way around. Okay, yeah, I agree. He also says, I mean, out of the box, you don't need debugging already. I've not encountered a case where I had to do anything in the console when working with vanilla RPG Maker. People have, and like maybe you don't have that, but some people have issues where a bunch of plugins might slow down their game. So it's tough to kind of get a beat on what's being the hogging of the processes or the hogging of the resources. So sometimes if there was some sort of way to debug that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be nice, because that I run into that situation a lot where sometimes my games have over 180 or 200 plugins, and then it's like only one of them's causing the problem, but you don't necessarily know exactly which one, and yeah, that can be kind of frustrating sometimes, but working on it.
Yeah. So, that's kind of my understanding of technical capabilities, and to be honest, every engine that I've worked with, only one I haven't worked with was Unreal, but everyone, Unity, Godot, they have plugin capability. So you can leverage that and try to make up for some of the shortcomings. But yeah, going back to I think Harlequin's point, it's not to make MMOs, right? So you take what you can get, but as far as making a game, I think it's still kind of falling short. A lot of folks have asked for a lot of features from the MV to MZ. So I feel like I'm just playing devil's advocate, but I remember when MZ was about to come out and people were like, damn, what were they saying? So animations changing from the normal animation system to Effectsier was not was not the best thing ever. It wasn't I think they were asking for multiple frames for animations and battle sequences and stuff like that. The support for multiple more animations, and I don't know, but you got what you got, and someone has written a plugin to update that. So
no, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, but when MZ first came out, the Effectsier animations were the only ones you could use, but now they have both systems in it. You can use the classic animations if you want, but you don't. But,
okay.
Yeah, when it first came out, it didn't do the classic animations at all, because I was messing around with it trying to get it to work. But yeah. But yeah, and I do feel like it's kind of stagnated a little bit in terms of its technical capabilities. There's some stuff that they should have been able to do sooner. They should have been able to get done sooner, right? I don't see MZ as that different from MV. It's very, very similar. There's a few differences, but it's nothing crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got.
Hey, why don't y'all let me know in the comments? Sorry, I'm just trying to interact with chat with this one. Bring them into the conversation.
Yeah. No,
technically, what do you Here's the question. Technically, what do you like about RPG Maker? Technically,
what do I like about it?
Yeah, you can answer the question too, but I'm trying to get the chat involved because this is the topic: technical capabilities. You know what I'm saying? What do y'all like about it technically?
Well, I like that it's easy.
We already know the answer.
Yeah, I like that it's easy to use.
What you like, these?
It's easy to use. Like I said, it's like you could come in with the desire to make an RPG Maker game. Of course, you're going to get the knowledge because you're going to go to Google, you're going to go to these communities, you're going to learn about these plugins, because you'd be surprised what some of these new developers don't know what plugins exist that they actually need. You know what I'm saying? Until they actually see other people projects and stuff like that. But the overall thing is, oh, I don't. They don't have to code. They don't have to have the knowledge of coding. It's plug and play basically. You got to, of course, you got to know what certain definitions are, like the variables and the switches and stuff. Of course, you got to learn that, but it's basically, fifth grade knowledge, in my opinion. You know, it's
Yeah.
easy.
All right. I'd like that too. But go ahead. I was looking more like nuance, like for instance, the text, what do you call it? The message system? Like so basically as soon as you boot the game up, basically like the whole fact that you can boot a game up, right? So you go, here's new project, you can just press play, right? Like you literally already have a game, right? You probably got to buy like, there's project templates and stuff like that for certain games, for certain engines and stuff like that. But from my experience, you had to like build everything from ground up. You had to like, okay, here's the title scene, here's the title UI, here's the loading UI, here's the inventory UI and all this crap. Like you had to build everything from scratch. But every time you hit play, it's like it's all there. You know what I mean? And the biggest one is like, yeah, the text for me. I don't know. It's like the fact that you got a message that appears instantly. You don't got to do a lot of coding for that. And yeah, it's like basic stuff really enlightened me. Like as far as like you have a game, you have all these things. Even though you're going to likely tweak it, you have the options: start game, new game, quick game. A little inventory. You know what I mean? You got all those systems already like laid out. So that's one of the technical things that really stick out to me. What was you gonna say, Psychron?
I was gonna say also what I like about it is like, you still have to like. Actually, what I have to say, there's another section where it's more relevant. So when we get to the further slide about it, I was gonna go. There's a slide about educational value. Like what it teaches you. So I'll save it for that.
But and then there's the database, right? Like that, it didn't even dawn on me, right? Like the whole database, it's got a database, okay? Like for storing variables and crap. Like these is like the most basic of components that if you wanted to have in Godot or Unity or something, like you have to make, right? You have to make a bunch of this crap, and then figure out how you're going to store it. You're going to store it as like a, what do they call it? The small SQLite database or something like that. All these like other components, all these other methods, but boom, they got a method for you. You can store numbers and crap and all types of. You can put an array in a variable if you wanted to. You could put all types of crap in these boxes in the database. Is already there. So I feel like that's a big plus to RPG Maker's technical capability.
Yeah, I like that you can just press the button and that's the function, instead of like having to type it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is along the logic of programming too. Like, you logically still have to think like that, but you don't actually have to get bogged down in the syntax and doing all that yourself, the individual functionality yourself in terms of coding or whatever. Yeah, so technically, that's what I like about it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think are we good to go to the next category?
Let's go.
Let's go. Compared to other RPG Maker, is the best compared to all other engines? What do you think?
Dang, yeah, I've been comparing it to other engines ever since, right? Like to understand the technical capabilities and stuff.
So it can
Let's do it from our own personal experience first.
Okay.
I'm gonna start. I remember Unreal. I think it was Unreal. They had a special going on where you could download it for free and you make a game, and if you upload it to PlayStation or whatnot, I think the first $90,000 was going to be your money. You know what I'm saying? So without having to pay a percentage to Sony. So I got the engine. I've been wanting to make a game for the longest. I got the engine and thought it was plug and play, but like, oh my gosh, what the heck am I doing? You know what I'm saying? So right then and there, my dreams are shattered. You know what I mean? Because I don't have no coding experience, none of that. But lo and behold, RPG Maker to the rescue. You know, I may not be able to make a great game with RPG Maker, but at least my progress went a lot further than it did in the Unreal Engine that I tried to make a game in. So personally, RPG Maker, hits me better, but compared to the other engines, of course, it can never do what the most powerful engines can do. Personally, it can't do it because I even hear some developers in the chat, say, "Man, if I had the knowledge to code, I I'll port this game over to Unity or something." So of course, those engines are way better than RPG Maker. But hey, to each his own. I mean, whatever floats the boat.
Yeah, I kind of had something similar where it was like it was like when I was younger, right? Like I tried to like and I've recently tried to use other engines and like while I can make some progress in them, I end up going back to RPG Maker because it's like the complexity seems a little too daunting sometimes on some of the other engines. I just open it up and look at the interface, and then my brain goes blank, and then it's
That's because that's too many. That's because it's too many steps to get to like that hit. That I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never did no drugs or nothing, but I feel like if you want that hit of satisfaction coming from something that you made, seeing something that you made, RPG Maker's always been there, right? It ain't the best looking or the best detailed or shoot that joint ain't even in 3D. Don't get me started on the RPG Maker 3D plugin or whatever, but yeah, it's something, right? And I think like seeing something happen faster with than the other engines is like that's like gold to me, right? It's really enticing to be like, well, guess I'm making an RPG because I know as soon as I put that thing on the screen, I'm gonna see it, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes, like, oh, I want to make a racing game. You want to make a racing game, bro? Like, all right, now you need to get them Blender files, okay? Get them joints ported over to your engine. Then that joint don't import, and then you got to look on YouTube, try to figure out why your files don't import, and there's a bunch of stuff, animations and junk. Like, I don't know, so you can get caught in the weeds doing like something so minute when like an RPG maker, you're like, well, I can make a little 2D thing, make the guy move forward and and things like that. So compared to other engines, like the ease of like figuring out a like making something happen, and wanting that hit of satisfaction from like doing something is
yeah.
easy to get from RPG Maker.
You can get there a lot sooner for really
Yeah.
like the and for me it's like it's a time saver too because like theoretically I'm not married to the engine. I'm willing to use another engine, no problem. But the I always come back to for the amount of time I have that I'm able to put into this, I'm able to get the most out of it versus if I spent the same amount of time with another engine trying to do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I might never get my project done if I did go to another engine at this time, right? So that's kind of where I'm coming from on it.
Yeah.
Cause
And
look how much you gotta learn. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to start all over. It. How long you been working on Starship?
In earnest since like I worked on it a little bit before 2018, like just like here and there, like every couple months, I
About
work on
six
it
years.
for an hour or something. But since 2018 is when I've been working on it consistently. So
And,
yeah,
and you consider yourself a master at RPG Maker. right?
I think I'm getting to the point where I'm twisting the ARMS engine pretty heavily right now. Yeah.
So now, if you go to a different engine like Unity,
It will have to
add
start over again. Yeah.
add a couple more years, or maybe the same amount of time before you even get to that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
still, all that time is used two different ways. It's either used learning how to use the engine, or as a master of the engine, learning how many. Trying to add more features. So I think the time you spent working on the game is probably more quality because of the engine, instead of like, all right, that same time you still trying to figure out how to
How to code the
code a
floor.
floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to D7 point though. Have you ever heard of XDA?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
SDA.
that was like how you get your game on Xbox, right? And that's what I was trying to do back in the day too. And that was trash. I mean, for real, like that was
Yeah.
the most convoluted process, bro. Like I remember opening up a book, right? You ever heard of OpenGL?
Yep.
Yeah.
You ever you ever heard of I used to use the old ass Visual C++ back in the day. And I used the OpenGL library to code a window. And I'm telling you, that thing, in order to put a window on the screen, it had like 11 parameters. You call one function, it was like 11 parameters, like so many parameters. And all I did for like an hour was sit there and write one function that would make a window pop up. Period. I think I put a box in that mug. But I'm saying, like, as hard as it is to make those type of games, you get so enticed to be like, well, okay, I know what I like, and I think RPG Maker will make a fun game that even I would like. So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like a magnet how people get attracted to it, because it's not like you're not stupid. You know what I'm saying? And RPG Maker doesn't have to be like for stupid people. It's just you actually enjoy doing it. Hey, look, the one thing I like that maybe you could probably do it in Unity, but I ain't mess with it. It's already built into the engine in RPG Maker. You can play your music files. You can just play music while you working in general.
Yeah.
You ever do
I use
that?
it as an MP3 player sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question. Maybe you can answer this, and especially people that know how to use, know how to code. And I think this is the problem, you know, that some other developers that use different engine may look at RPG Maker developers. They may not look at y'all as real developers because the lack of ability to code. And just like you already said, it is RPG Maker is basically a video game where you can actually build a game inside of a game and export a game, where these coders, they have to build everything from scratch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So what that mean, right? What that
So
mean?
they may,
Because
you see what I'm saying? Like,
am I supposed to feel like threatened or intimidated or something?
not threatened or intimidated, but other people may look at you like that because you're an RPG Maker developer and you're selling a game where I'm actually building a game, and you're just a plug and player.
I
Well,
actually de-emphasize that I'm an RPG Maker
I'm just
developer.
giving y'all. I'm just asking you a question. I'm not attacking. No, I'm on your
Yeah,
side, right?
yeah.
I'm
No,
on your side.
I actually just say that I'm a game developer, an indie game developer, and I actually am totally fine with RPG Maker. But if I say I'm an RPG Maker game developer, then the statement lands a little more flat when you're trying to like show somebody your game or something, right? So
That's
because of
like
the
going to a,
reputation, because of the
that's like
reputation
going
of
to,
the engine.
yeah, that's like going to a convention. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A RPG convention, and you talking with these you talking with these coders that's like high entry level. Then you talk about your game, they gonna be like, well, what you make your game, man? You be like, RPG.
yeah. So that's the whole stigma of the platform and the community. period, right? But you gotta understand, like, there's people who create plugins, and the more you use the engine and the more you use plugins, you next thing you know, you writing your own plugin. And it's like it's a beautiful on ramp to development, in my opinion. Because if you have the feedback loop, which is needed in order to maintain attention, you're on your way to be a coder if the desire is there. If
Yeah.
the desire ain't there, then don't blame yourself. Don't shoot yourself in the foot or feel like you ain't any less than. You could be a good artist because the games you make are in RPG Maker. You could be a good musician because the music you make will be featured in the game that you make in RPG Maker. It clears the way, in my opinion, so that you can be a good game developer in its own way, right? So you're probably going to be pretty genre locked, and you're probably going to be pretty uh, 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 locked by your capabilities. But who cares if that song going to bump, if them pictures going to look good because you want to be an artist, you want to be a musician, or that story is going to be impressive. You could then shit turn around, write a book. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's it's as long as you if you feel like going that direction, then go in that direction, right? I mean, what I mean by is like you started making games in RPG Maker, then you wanted to make a game in Unity. Like, yeah. Um I do get why people might think you're less skilled, but then the topic of the conversation is, what are we talking about, right? Like, what are we trying to compare skills with, right? Like, am I making multiplayer games? No. Are you making multiplayer games? That's good for you. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like that's where I think I stand, and I had to actually face the music. I had to look, and see the differences, right? And see people. I actually did go to a Unity convention in Texas, probably like in 2017, and see people who were making Unity games like for big companies like Exxon and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, man, he's had so much more experience than me in the engine. Um, how do I even compete? Well, you know, I just did what I did. I know about Unity, and I know how to, create some content, but I just ain't make a game. And that's just where you at in your journey. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the expectation is supposed to be. There's not some hot coder girl that's looking at guys as like coder rap sheets, and they're like, oh well, he made an MMO, I'm going to date him. Nah, you know, they only care about money. And me shut up anyway. I don't want to sound really what do you call it? Superficial. But that's what it is, right? Like, as long as you happy doing what you're doing, like, you probably have more fun than somebody that can't, understand some sort of network error that's happening in their MMO about to get shut down because ain't nobody playing it or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, that's. I guess we have our answer then.
I don't think we like compared to the other engines. We compared to the other people. That's what we did.
Well, and other engines too. I mean, we talked about Unity and Unreal and.
I'm just joking.
Godot.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. I actually did mess with Godot a little bit. It wasn't that bad.
But okay. Have you ever tried to build an RPG in Godot though?
No. I already know that I would rather do it in RPG Maker, but I did try with a couple of the other smaller engines though. I tried with the RPG Architect. That was it looked the interface on that was a little bit harder for me to understand. But and then I haven't tried Bakken yet, but I was gonna give that a try. I guess they do have plugins now or whatever. I don't know.
Let me talk about these RPG Maker fakers, okay?
Yeah.
It's like, nah, I don't know. I tried to look at that shit. It was like convoluted. It was confusing. I don't know. RPG developer maker biking was confusing. Okay, there was another like ISO RPG Maker, and that shit was confusing. Like, RPG Maker is just not that confusing. You know what I'm saying? You hit play, you see the game.
Don't they got a paper maker as well? RPG paper maker.
Oh, like a paper, like a Mario RPG type deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that? It's almost like
I think
HD
it's free.
2D type.
I think it's on Steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paper RPG Maker is another one that exists. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
At
heard.
first, like
I haven't heard of that one.
It
Paper.
don't. It looks pretty good. It don't look too bad.
that's what got me. I always look at what the product was, and I'd be like, "Damn, that looks so cool. Let me try it." And then I go and look at it. It's either like too expensive for
But
like trying it, and it
over,
looked mad
but
smile.
overall,
Yes.
RPG Maker is. I mean, be honest. A lot of people gonna go. A lot of people gonna flock to that because they're trying to skip that education.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
And,
mean?
and and sometimes it's good to skip the education, to be honest, because you just trying to put your idea on something, right?
And
Once
you
your
don't.
idea get on something, then you might consider improving it.
Yeah, and plus you don't have to go broke going
Mm-hmm.
getting a student loan and going to college or taking the trade course. And still don't know exactly what the heck you're doing after
Yeah,
being 18, $20,000 in the hole. So
yeah. Let me get some
RPG Maker me, baby.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, a lot of activity in the chat though.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm checking it out. Yeah. um,
somebody said I closed Godot because I got flashbacks to Unity. Yeah, I feel that. Somebody spoke on
um,
RPG Maker Unite too.
oh yeah, I was gonna try that one out, but it just totally flopped. It looked like, as far as I could tell. Um,
Yeah, I think my biggest thing was, and I tried to message them on X. I was like, "Hey, can you load a custom scene in Unity, like a Unity scene? Because that'd be cool. Because you in RPG Maker, and then you load a mini game. It's a whole 3D scene, right?" They didn't answer. I think that's coming in their latest update. That's a year old, right? Like, so now they just put out some thread that's like, we're going to do this and do that, and it's like actually integrated now. Year almost two maybe later. I paid $90 for that thing, thinking it was going to be like, okay, you got an RPG Maker, right? But then you got Unity scenes that you can load. So boom, yes, 3D stuff, right? Your game can be, mostly you walk around, but then you go, all right, here's the scene where maybe it's a 3D battle scene, or it's a 3D, mini game scene or something like that. But nah, maybe you could share information. Maybe like RPG Maker take care of all your data stuff because it's got that built-in database, then everything gets saved there. But nah, it's really tacked on. It's literally just like RPG Maker in its most restrictive form in Unity. And it shit took long as hell to load, like minutes to load.
like there
Mm.
was performance issues and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, that was a bad implementation RPG Maker, but that's still Unity. So
yeah,
it's like some weird ass stuff.
maybe they'll fix it. Who knows? But you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one, we talked a little bit about this. So this slide might not be up as long as the other one because we kind of talked about it a little bit, but ease of use and accessibility. I think hands down, like this is where the engine really shines, and is the best actually, or pretty close to it, is the ease of use and just being able to get started with something basic. And if you have a lot of creativity and you have the drive and the passion, you can make something very professional and a straight up indie game that it doesn't even matter that it's RPG Maker. I think this is where the engine is like among the best, is the ease of use and accessibility.
Exactly.
For sure.
You have streamers per se. Ironically, we was talking about streamers and developers last night on my live, and I mentioned you have people that are streamers who have no knowledge of RPG Maker, but they're using it to create games with their community with no knowledge. You know what I mean? So this is basically something for everyone.
Yeah, you think that's a good thing or bad thing?
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing, yeah.
Okay,
It's a
cool.
good thing. It's you notice what RPG Maker has done for people itself. People created businesses and stores just because of RPG Maker.
Yeah, let me start my community up then, man. Like, I need a community for real.
And that's
Watch me
and
bring it.
and that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that could be more, that could be discussed a little bit more in the community and support section,
Yeah.
which is, I believe, in the next one, of what what people took advantage of with RPG Maker,
Mhm.
and how it actually changed the game.
Right. Hey, somebody in the chat said, "What in the world would make it a bad thing?" Let me play devil's advocate for you, so nah. um. So yeah, to play devil's advocate, because the ease of use is there, I feel like people could abuse the engine and make a lot of bloaty games. So
Which
yeah,
they
they
do.
might be, which they do, right? So shovelware, da da da. Somebody just mentioned it, took the words out of my mouth.
There's a
So
ton of trash RPG Maker games for sure. Yeah.
And there's a ton
yeah,
of trash or Unity
Oh,
games.
of
Let's
course,
make it sense.
of course. I'm not
yes,
singling.
there are.
And
Yeah,
Android and da 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 da.
yeah.
I think I
So
think that the reason why it's less recognizable though when it's another engine is actually because of the RTP, because the RTP gives you that basic framework that is the first framework available to you when you first start using the engine, and if you stick with that framework, you see that everywhere. You see it in tons of different places. But again, if you take something like Unity or Unreal, you kind of have to do something custom from the start, so it's actually less recognizable that it's a particular engine that's the problem instead of just the project itself being a problem, right? So
yeah, yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the chat. So yeah, I answered your question. It was shovelware, right? But like, Annoyed Nova says, I will now learn Godot to make a terrible shovelware game out of spite, and I'm
I
like,
bet he will. I bet
yes, I
he's going
really
to
do.
do it too. Knowing the Nova, he's going to do it.
Yeah. Hold up. John Erico says, yeah, asset flipping is crazy, but like now don't even gotta make a floor at bare minimum boot up release. Like, so, yeah. So the asset flipping, right? If Unity had asset flipping, then in RPG Maker that would be called asset tumbling, asset gymnastics. Because you see the same thing over and 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 over. Oh, that thing be like they is always there. The same action animations, the same battle sequence and battle animations, the same. Like they use that RTP like it's the Bible.
Don't Unity have RTP,
No,
like asset stores and
they do
stuff?
got an asset store, and people probably use like some of the default assets for sure. You can, and
And
there's a lot of like free junk.
that's the same thing. But
I just think it's more here.
people would yeah, of course, because
It's like so
it's going to garner more a bigger audience. Everybody wanted to make a RPG, so but they don't know how to create assets. So of course they're going to use the RTP. Of course they're going to use the three common maps that's out there: the RTP, the FSM, and the Winloop.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's all you're gonna see in art, and the other one, Time Fantasy.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask both of y'all a question. This is tied into easy use and accessibility, right? Overall, right? It's tied in. But the question is, do you think that everyone wants to make an RPG?
no.
Not everyone,
Right.
but I think they just want to tell their story. They
And
just want
then
to tell a good story.
yeah. And then everybody that's using RPG Maker, do you think that they want to make an RPG?
Uh, Probably the vast majority, yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Because
I mean, I want it. For me, it's about the story. So I want to tell a story. So an RPG is obviously one of the best genres to do that in.
okay. Now let's take the RPG out of RPG Maker for a second, right?
Maker.
What if that joint said anything maker, right? Like you could just straight up make NBA 2K again, right? Say that it was an engine and that joint just made NBA 2Ks, right? Say that it was an engine, that thing just made Street Fighters. There was a 2D fighting game.
It was
I
a
forgot
fighter
what it's called.
maker.
Fighter.
Yeah,
Fighter
Fighter
Maker.
Maker. Yeah. And that shit was too confusing for me. I was stupid. Such as Game Maker.
The
Yeah, for
first
sure.
the first maker was Mario Paint. You know, you got the music in there. You could create music and songs.
Oh, I remember Mario Paint. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never heard of that.
Yeah,
And you could port the game. Could you port the game for other people to play?
No, because it was on Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay. Dang, I was still trying to beat Turtles in Time on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I remember.
But,
I really like Turtles in Time. Though.
Yeah. All right, but reason why I'm asking is because the RPG Maker engine has so much ease of use and accessibility that people go, well, shoot, might as well make an RPG then, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can't make a sci-fi, point and click action game or mystery game or a whole, what do you call it? They want to make a RTS that still tells their story about rival kingdoms and then, alien, hornets coming to take over all of the single women, leaving nobody to be married to become queen or whatever in their kingdom. You can't make that RTS, but you can make an RPG because it's ease of use and accessibility. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe people are being coerced or convinced that they can make, not coerced, but like kind of like enticed. Like, hey, this is so easy. Guess I'm making an RPG. Guess I'll, because of easy use and accessibility. What y'all think?
Yeah, I like that the functions in the program are like all just really nice buttons and they do what you need, and there's not a lot of like in between layers of bullshit that you run into when you're working with a lot of other frameworks where there's like layers of complication where there doesn't need to be, and it's just nice to be able to get on it and do what I need to do and then see the results pretty quickly and. Yeah, it's one of the main reasons why I'm still on it. Is just because it's pretty easy. It's fun to use. I actually enjoy using it like as a tool. So, yeah, it's number one in my book for that.
Cool. Yeah. I think. Yeah, the biggest ease of use and accessibility feature of the engine is the painting, right? How you can paint your scene in your game, like you can paint the map, like, and I think Unity didn't even have that until after 2017. That tile set painter, like Unity didn't have that joint for a while. You had to have a plugin and stuff like that, and yeah, it wasn't built right, but then they ended up adding it, trying to catch up. That's what seems like they tried to catch up to RPG Maker. So I really think like RPG Maker was failing itself for a while, because going from MV to MZ, I think a lot of folks wanted multiple layers too. Did they got that at MZ, right? Like you can have multiple layers.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
MZ, yeah.
But it still only has a maximum of 2 on top of each other. So. When you like, if you have like, I run into this a lot when I'm making like forest maps and stuff. Like, you want a tree, and then you want to put another tree over that, and then you put a third tree over that. It'll make the bottom tree disappear. Like, even if you layer them correctly, it still only has a maximum of 2 layers on any one square. So then the way I handle that is I use an event, and then I make the event that's what that square would be, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. But and also
to have one extra layer, just have one extra layer.
Yeah, 1 extra or 2 extra, and then in the tile set layers, there's only A, B, C, D, E. It'd be nice to be able to go F, G, H, I, J, and so on to give maps more diversity. It'd be nice.
So yeah, I'm excited about the ease of use accessibility, and I think that just like you're not like dumber than other people who like to code out a whole, I don't know, fucking physics system or some shit. It's just like you're smarter because you want to, you don't want to get caught up doing that. You want to get your game done using, stuff that's out of the box.
It's working hard. It's working smart, not hard.
Yeah.
Exactly, for sure.
Yeah. So sometimes you got to do hard work, but sometimes you can do smart work and avoid the
Bingo.
Yeah, somebody echoed my point. RPG Maker's best asset is the text window, variables, and show image. Yeah, so that's what I was saying, like the text window and all that crap. Like, you ever try doing that junk in the regular engine, like any other engine? Shit, you gotta download like a plugin. Like, I know a guy, his best selling plugin is text for Unity, dialogue system for Unity. So, yeah.
Right, you got to do all that basic stuff from scratch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mercy.
Okay, well, let us go on to community and support. So, where does RPG Maker lie as far as its community goes? Does it have a big community? Does it have a small community? Is it small but high quality? Is it no community? What do you guys think? What does everyone think?
Mm-hmm. What you think, D7? You the community head right there. You got your own community for real.
I mean, it's kind of like there's definitely a community, but it's so vast, right? It's not as big as other communities, but it's I won't call it small either. You know what I mean? Because I'm constantly running to all these new developers, on Twitter, on Reddit, on RPG Maker web that I knew that don't exist. And they're all helping each other. They're all knowledgeable in these plugins. And I feel like some people just don't want to be seen, but they're out there. There's definitely a community, like a supportive community. I do give it that. And basically we see it every day. Every time I go live, I see the community, I see the support. And what I like about the community is that everyone is freely able, they're freely willing to help each other out. And, I'm not talking about the streamers or just the developers. I'm talking about everyone. You got the streamers, wants to help the developers, with their game by showcasing their game, streaming it. Then you got the developers helping the developers with how to make their games better. Then you got, inside you got your map makers, you got your plugin creators, you got, the action sequencer. It's like there's a job for everybody, and everyone has a strong skill, and they don't mind sharing it. Now, assets creations and plugin creators, of course, you got to pay for their time, if that's the case, but they're definitely there. I feel like the community and the support is strong within the RPG Maker community.
I think that the community is, I would call it a little bit fragmented, personally. Like I think you got like a lot of people that use RPG Maker, but you also have, and then you even have some of like the biggest games that sold the best that were made in RPG Maker. Oftentimes you don't see them in the RPG Maker community though. So you see, but you do see a lot of people in the community, but you also have a little bit of fragmentation. So it's not like every group is working together. There's actually like, I'd almost say like there's some different factions. Like there's people that are, I guess, newer. There's people that have been around a really long time. And yeah, so and then there's parts of the community that don't actually interact with each other very much, but then there are parts that are. And I like being part of the community and trying to help out and getting helped out too, with my project too. So I do feel a sense of community for the most part, especially like with the RTP server, Discord and stuff like that. Not as much with like the forums or that area, but I don't know. That's just me.
Like for example, on the Reddit, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of people. I think it got like 50,000 members. That's part of the RPG Maker community on the Reddit that I'm part of, and that may be the most popular one up there. I haven't seen any other one, and I see a lot of people posting and getting a whole bunch of upvotes and and these people I never even heard of. You know what I mean? I see, new projects that I never ever seen, but they're always helping each other. Then you got, that's why I said it's, I don't think it's a big community, but I don't think it's a small community either because of the different avenues and the wherever they on, whether it's on Twitter or Twitch or TikTok, it could be anywhere. The community could be anywhere. It's just that dealing with the majority, it's like you can't find everyone. So people they stick to them, they stick to themselves, they stick to certain groups, and you're part of that group, and that's where you are, part of that group. You're in this clique. Like, how can I better explain it? Discord servers, for example. You got a lot of us that's part of Discord servers, right? Either in RPG Maker, whether it's RPG beta testers or at one point it was Drifty's, server Discord, and other people Discords, that's pertaining to RPG Maker. You know, you may only see certain individuals in that particular Discord and won't go nowhere else because they're so used to being in that Discord or following that individual. So you won't see them anywhere else. So if you don't go there, you're not going to get the help and support from that individual because they're stagnated into that particular Discord, and they could be stagnated into the particular group where you actually have to go there and get it instead of them having to like travel and Discord jump and group jump where they want to communicate with one another and other people. They choose not to do that. You know what I mean? So it depends. It depends. Like in our Discord, the RTP. Some of us is part of multiple Discords, some of us isn't. But you only gonna get certain help if you're part of that Discord. For example, we know Harlequin makes maps. We know he's a map maker. He only posts certain places. If you're not part of those particular groups, you're not gonna know what he do. You know what I mean? So the support is out there. You just gotta find it.
Yeah, it's out there. Okay.
Ain't nobody gonna ask what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What,
Y'all
what's
don't care
up?
about what I think about
I
the.
was about to ask. I was about to
Y'all
ask you.
just skipped this subject. Everything. Forgot I was on the podcast on here for real. Dang.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think
Somebody gonna say nope. Moving on.
Do you think the community is strong with the RPG?
Yeah, who am I? Somebody say who's that guy on there? Look, I'm just a random guy. You know I'm random, right? I used to watch D7 Strings, right? I
Oh,
also
you
used to
used
watch.
to. You used to.
Yeah, back in the day, back in your
That means
golden
you don't.
age,
That
right?
means
So
you don't watch
this
me
this
no
time you
more.
done fell
That's
off. So.
crazy.
Just past yesterday, you done fell off, man. I stopped watching. So. It's like, but it's like I still watch, but I also used to watch Drifty back in the day too, like way back before I found D7. My thing is, as a member of the community, I'm like a fly on the wall, honestly. But back when I was making RPG Maker games for like 2000, 2003, there was a site called RPG. That was called like rm2k.net or some crazy thing. And then they had this other site called RPG Maker Net or whatever.
RPGmaker.net.
Yeah, RPGmaker.net, right? And their site is down now. There is the RPG Maker Reddit, but that joint only got it got 52k members, 25 of them online, right? That's a little weird of a skew, right? And I think a lot of elements come into play to segment the community. You already got the genre lock of being an RPG. Then you got the platform lock of like the game, the maker platform, right? So Unity, Unreal, all that. You know, for developers, like kind of looking down on RPG Maker as not like a valid engine or whatever, like that. Like they segment that. And then I don't know if the community, I don't know if it's the community's job, but I would honestly say you got to have some pride in what you do, and I think they do. But how do you get folks who like all the other games in the way that they're made that's not RPG Maker to care about your game that's made in RPG Maker, right? To care about to want to be in your community. You know, how do you get those Unity developers in your RPG Maker community and stuff like that? You know what I mean? I feel like let me answer my own question. I think that the pride of RPG Maker needs to be reignited, right? Like the RPGmaker.net site was a very prideful site. Not saying like pride, like the way people specify pride these days. It's just that there was a site where you could find RPG Maker games straight up and down. Now you can go on itch, and I don't know, I ain't looking at the chats. Maybe somebody saying you could just go on itch and search RPG Maker. No, like thing is, itch is still itch. It's got a ton of games. And if I was an RPG Maker, I would put my game on the RPG Maker net site, and I would put my game on itch. I would put my game on Steam. But people need to be able to find good RPG Maker games, and maybe I'm not I don't know where that is, but where's that good curation, you know, for RPG Maker games that I think we need to shed light on, like developers, get them connected. It was literally like a hub. RPG Maker Net was the hub where whether you play the games, whether you make the games, or just a forum about the games, that was the one place. Now it's got like a ton of places. Everybody's got their own Discord. Everybody's got their own, you know, platforms and stuff like that, and that's making that segmentation even more pronounced. So I think the community is nice. Every pocket of the community I've ever joined is nice. People are cool. People seem like proud to make the game or be involved in helping other folks fix their game and stuff like that. Aerosys, this one guy, I'll call him out, like, I got his plugin in my game, and that was like the coolest plugin I ever had. I ain't gonna tell you what it is because my game wouldn't be unique without it. But he's a cool, great developer, and if anybody knows him, then you know I feel like that's how segmented it is. You know what I mean? So, I would like be put in this category in like a very triple question mark. You know, I can't say that is bad. I would never say it's bad. I think it's good. But it's rather small because of the niches and, you know, by nature. and the support is there, but it's like legacy, and then it's really like you're tossing something in the air, somebody might catch it. It's not like Unity, you can pay for support, and them mofos will send you a developer, and they'll try to make somebody else's plugin work with your thing, or there's like things there's avenues you can put tickets in directly to the Unity developers and junk like that. There's avenues you can go in. So I think like that's the shortcomings of RPG Maker, and I would love to see the Maker community be like larger, right? Like why we don't got 50 followers on this podcast is beyond me.
I think that'll come with time, but at the same time, you gotta think about it like this: how many Discords are you personally part of?
You mean like a Discords in general?
Yeah, for example, how many Discords?
I'm gonna say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 maybe. I'm gonna say 40.
And how many of them do you visit often?
2, yours and mine.
You see what I mean? That's the thing. That's the thing, right? We join these groups, join these Discords for a moment, then we forget about it, right? And we lose track of what's going on in those Discords because we're not focused on those Discords. We're kind of separated. We're kind of like abroad from each other. Even though we're part of the same community, we're still separated. We don't have one hub or one place where everyone just go and congregate or fellowship or whatnot. Not trying to sound religious, but we're just scattered abroad, and you're not going to get what you can get unless you go out there and seek. You have to actively seek for what you want. It's not just going to land in your lap. And that's the problem. It is a big community. It's just everybody separated at the moment.
Yeah, in little group, their own little groups and stuff. Yeah.
I wouldn't say at the moment. I'd say it's been like that for.
Yeah, be quiet.
You know what I'm saying? It's been like that for years. Like, I would like for it not to be, but also, yeah, there's a bunch of Unity Discords and stuff too. But hey, shit, what Unity has a Discord, right? There's no Katakawa Discord, is there?
I think there is. What is a Visual Stella Discord? I think there is. Yeah, it's a Visual Stella Discord where you could go up there and talk to the devs and stuff. I seen people mention it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the problem, and that was kind of, a little bit of my topic yesterday on my stream. Mm-hmm. People is they only focus on their project. A majority of them is only focused on theirs, which is understandable. Because you got your deadline you need to follow, and you need to finish your game. You don't really have time to help others, and others are your competition. In reality, they technically are. But you do have developers who do give their secrets away, who do want other people to succeed and stuff like that. So, it's kind of like it's a mix. It's a mix here and there.
Yeah, and I'm definitely the type of developer that if I discover something, I'll be like, here's how I did it. You can do it too if you like it. I'm kind of in that boat for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just joined a Japanese RPG Maker just now, trying to find the official Discord. I think I found this Japanese, but yeah, I think once people start, and it starts with us, I guess, the developers. We start developing games more. What do you call it? shit, I can't think of the word, but agnostically. So you develop the game agnostically, like you're making a game. You're not making a RPG Maker game. However, you're still tied into that community, the RPG Maker community, right? So I think like it's going to come with that. So you're coding a JavaScript plugin. Those regular developers are going to come to your channel, even if they were like Unity developers. You're a developer, right? You're making that art. You could be making an art for a Unity game. You know, who cares? But you're making art. You're an artist. You know, you start building that community, but then you let them know like, hey, here's a community we got. You know, this game is getting made with RPG Maker. That you got to then bring that pride of the engine back in. You know, to get folks to go, oh well, shoot, you look like a pretty upstanding developer. You know, your head's wrapped on straight. You're not just trying to make cult RPG Maker classics in 2 hours. I'll join your Discord. I'll see what RPG Maker is. I'll put down Godot to mess around with this, and it'll be. I'm sure I'll have a good time. You know, so I think it's a little bit of both. You're on the grind, agnostically developing your game, not because it's RPG Maker, just because you want to make a fun game, but turn around and link those new folks back into the community and go, well, shoot, here's all these resources. Here's the communities I'm in. This is an RPG Maker game. Don't you think that's cool, right? So I think it's like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me,
Makes sense.
For me, it's about like making sure that when I get what you mean about thinking agnostically, like thinking of your game as not an RPG Maker game, but as an indie game in general, and trying to increase the quality, because once it's good enough, right? And if you have enough of these games that are good enough, it will actually improve the RPG Maker community. It will actually cause more people to say, you know what, I can take this engine seriously, things like that. Because at the end of the day, it might be easy to slap something together and get a bumper sticker on it and have it run out the door. But at the end of the day, if you can make a high quality product with the engine and help others get there too, then that will inspire others to maybe think it's an engine that they might want to use and be part of the community as well. So.
Yeah, and even on the player side, I'm giving this topic the most of my attention right now, because I ain't gonna lie, I feel passionate about it. So, as a player, how can you make this game? How can you make these joints fun, right? Like the playing RPG Maker's fun.
Yeah,
because
it's
you ever heard?
It's not the easiest job, but for sure.
But what about the gaming marathons, right? Where you'll see somebody like beat Metroid or whatever, and like they do gaming for charity and crap like that. There should be somebody just trying to like blitz through 100 RPG Maker games, to bring light to RPG Maker engine and stuff like that.
One person was actually doing that. I think it's Euphoric Lemon. He was playing a game called what's the game called? Well, he was speed running the game. He kind of created like a speed runner, speed run for that game, and it was an RPG Maker game. What's the name of it? I forgot the name of the freaking game, but yeah. I actually thought about, that's a good idea, if we could get streamers together and we could do like a RPG marathon or something like that. It can work.
Yeah, play RPG for charity or some crazy junk like that. Play RPG.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's going to be hard to get that together because of people's agendas. RPG Maker is just RPG Maker.
Mm-hmm. You can do what you want.
You could do what you want, and I was trying to piggyback off your comment, but I kind of lost what you said that what I was gonna comment on.
Yeah, don't worry about me. The fans want to hear Psychronic, so go ahead, man.
Yeah.
We're when it comes to community and support. We've already kind of gone through.
Yeah.
most of it. Yeah.
Let's go on to the next topic.
And RPG Maker is the best in storytelling and world building. Yeah, like I actually really think that it is very good for this. You know, with a few basic components, you can get up and running and start building your world. Lately I've been really enjoying it. Like really twisting the arm of the engine lately. So like a lot of my maps now are like parallax maps. So I'm not even like using the like tile set system except for like stuff in the maps, right? And so and what's really cool is like, at least for me anyway, is like, you know, not that long ago, I'd say probably like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I would get stuck a lot because I'd have an idea in my head for like what I would want to build, like as far as a story or as far as a world or as far as like a map or something I needed in my game as an idea. But I would get stuck. I would just get to the point of, well, I can't make that, or I will have to pay somebody to do that, or and it's night. And now I can kind of really like, with practice, I've gotten really good with Photoshop and stuff, and I just enjoy like actually making the stuff now, like just all original. I'm not even using any like asset packs or anything like that. I'm just making it raw. I can't always say that my art style is like 100% consistent, but it is getting better over time. And again, like, because RPG Maker is easy to get the basics started, you know, you can focus on telling your story and building your world. And I think as an engine, it is extremely good for that. And then, you know, to add a little extra on it, you know, I've also gotten a lot of really good use out of the artificial AI tools of various kinds. It's not a replacement for everything, but things that literally
AI alert, AI alert,
yeah.
AI alert.
Well, no, but like things that in the, you know, a few short years ago you would just kind of stop the progress is not getting stopped anymore. So so the result of that is I'm able to get my stories and my worlds out there faster than I was before, and the engine is still an incredibly good tool for that. So yeah, I use it every day. I really like it.
Hey, my bad. I hope I wasn't too loud when I
No,
said
and
AI.
again too, there's been some really good stories and worlds that people have built in RPG Maker. So there's a few classics that, like, you know, they might, you know, that I'd say, when I say classics, I mean classics for me, you know, because like there's been a few RPG makers that sucked me in as much as like a professional like studio releasing a game, right? There's been a few, not that many, but a few, and I think that it's just a testament to what you can do with the engine if you have enough like imagination and creativity.
You know, Unity tried to put AI in their engine.
How did they try to put it in their engine?
Oh man, forgot. I gotta look it up.
Was it like in the window where you code or something, or was it?
Let me ask Psychronic a question. Somebody's saying, I swear if that background was generated with AI, I'm gonna eat a sock.
That background, these backgrounds are videos from Pixabay, and I believe they are AI generated. I just slapped a couple worlds together and then put the title over the top of it in the video editor. Yeah, so. And,
yeah, it's called.
And by the way, the music in the background is also generated with those tools. Yeah.
Ah!
It's actually all Psychronic tracks.
All right, guys. All right. We do have separate scenes. I got my scene. Psychronic got his scenes, and Marlon has his scenes, and I am no way associated with
Yeah, I mean,
but my opinion on the story and world building, RPGs, you gotta think about it, guys. RPGs, is like the ultimate form of games. There's action, there's story, there's lore, there's anything that you could imagine. So it's easier to create a RPG, and a RPG game could go on for so long. Like, you can make it how many hours you want. Like, there's one game that's 100 hours, 100 freaking hours.
As one story, yeah.
One game, 100-hour gameplay. That's insane. And it's been done with RPG Maker.
Well, I don't always think longer is better.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't think longer is always better. It sometimes.
But it gives the develop. Go ahead, Psychronic. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. Yeah. So like sometimes I've played like some short games that were really good, and I'm really like I like, maybe the game's only 10 hours long, but you like it enough that you literally sit through and play 10 hours straight because you like it. And then there's games that are 100 hours long, but after 2 hours, it gets really boring and you lose interest and don't want to play it anymore.
But the thing is, though, you have the ability
for sure.
To make that story. Now, even the short story games ain't always good stories.
No, correct.
But it's the opportunity to be able to tell a story and build a world and create characters that are memorable. You know what I mean? Just like standard games do, even though it doesn't necessarily have to be an RPG, you could create a story and create a world however you want to create it. And that's the fact about the RPG Maker engine. The developers gave us the bare minimum of what we actually need to tell that story. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like talking about your game, Starship.
Mm.
I think you're a great developer. You tell a great story. Your game could also be a book.
Oh yeah, I kind of saw it as like a TV series,
it could be a good read.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And RPG Maker probably created that aspect for you, as you got, because you did say you created bad games at first.
Yeah,
right?
for
sure. so you became more proficient with the engine, and you evolved to tell a better story based on your past experience, and that's what RPG Maker is training us to do.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoy it. It's just I wouldn't be doing it otherwise, because I don't anticipate that it might, like, I'm trying for it, but I don't anticipate that my game will ever like blow up and get big or whatever. I hope it does, but the point is that I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy the stories that I'm writing, and that if I could wipe my memory and play my own game and it was made by somebody else, I would truly enjoy the game. So I'm kind of making it not just for myself, but for, I guess, other people like me that maybe were inspired by RPGs or stories when they were younger, and then trying to like replicate that magic. I guess that's what I'm trying to go for.
Let me ask you a question. A personal question.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really personal, but it's just, all right. When you're not developing Starship, when you're out and about doing your everyday thing in the real world, do you think about your game?
Yeah, for sure. I'm basically like, during the my daily life is like, there's a lot of responsibilities, there's a lot of stuff going on, and oftentimes I'm in the middle of doing these other responsibilities, which are technically more important, But then in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm really looking forward to Saturday when I get to work on my game and get more of it done and blah, blah, blah. Like, I do think about it when I'm doing other stuff, right? So, because like during the week, because like I have my own business and I also work a job, and it's all like IT support stuff, so lots of computer stuff and servers and networking and all that kind of jank. And then I also do volunteer work with Homes Now, where we manage 2 tiny home villages for people who are homeless and stuff. So I'm a pretty busy guy. I don't have any kids, otherwise like I would probably have no time, but or very little time. But I have a lot going on. But yes, it's in my head, and pretty often I do think about it even when I'm doing other stuff. Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to know that that's just the effect that you're able to create a game and you have the tools and avenue to create, your story and build the world that you want to use with the engine. So definitely, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I would ask Marlon, but he doesn't have a game.
Yeah, he does. He has the cave monster, the cave something.
Did you seen it?
I saw it. Isn't there an itch.io page?
Hey, I like how y'all sitting there trying to pick me apart, but I'll send a game when I feel like it. Y'all thought I was gonna say I send the game, or yeah, no. When it's ready, right? I'm gonna hit y'all with the Cyberpunk. I'm gonna send my game out when it's ready. But yeah, I got some old 2003 joints, some jump balls I can send, but I don't want y'all messing with them. That's my old classics, my silver collection. But I'm gonna talk about storytelling and world building because I feel like this become a conversation between 2 people. So I'm gonna interject. I think we need to separate what storytelling is and what world building is. Right? Storytelling is not world building. World building is kind of like that painting you see, and when you see the 2 people in that painting, one of the people is related to the other person in your party or something like that, right? You see the inkwell on the desk, and that's a inkwell of the army that's associated with the faction that don't like you. You know what I'm saying? Or like, the floor is made out of a certain texture that is the same texture as some rock monster you fought. So they had to kill 18 rock monsters to be able to make that floor you walking on. So I think that world building is a little bit constrained when it comes to 2D RPG Maker as we have in our engine. Like, storytelling is telling a story. And out of the box, you can make text appear on the screen. You can show pictures too. And I think a lot of people can tell a story through their art. But world building is possible, but I think that it is constrained by this engine. So it has its challenges.
Yeah.
And, so I think like
DJ King disagrees with you.
Okay, what did he say?
He said basically what ties your world together. World building is what holds the world together. It's not the story. So basically he's saying his game has world building and the story.
No, he's agreeing with me. He's actually agreeing with me because that's what I'm actually saying, DJ King. DJ. Yeah. Anyway, I'm saying DJ King. I think I'm saying the same thing you saying. Yeah. See, he said himself. I'm agreeing, not disagreeing. Yeah. So you can tell, right? It is a little tough, right? But I think like people think the developers have thought of creative ways to build a world given the constraints.
Well, yeah, but also building a convincing world can enhance your storytelling too. So like they're not exactly the same. I agree with that, but they are connected. And
I'm not saying they're antonyms. Yeah. Like don't get me confused, because what I'm saying is we're saying storytelling and world building, and the way these words are put together often, you think that, storytelling and world building is the same thing. Like you can tell a story and build a world, right? You could
No,
tell a story and still don't know where you at in the game, right? You might be in some random uh flower bed in the forest or whatever, right? And you don't know, you just out there in a random place. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean when storytelling ain't world building, right? It's not the same. You could be on a planet, but that planet don't have nothing to do with the faction war that's going on in another galaxy. So
okay.
Right. Well, I just meant like, when I put when I slapped this slide together, I was thinking along the concept of that in order for your story to be convincing, you would have to, the world building is part of that, making the story convincing.
oh, it is, and what I'm saying is like people see those two words and think that like really like legit synonyms, like they storytelling is world building and world building is storytelling. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of the vibe sometimes. So I just wanted to make that clear and really, or at least to make my point the best, like in order to accept it the best, because like I have to establish the distinction of the two and then point out how the shortcoming really is biggest when it comes to the world building for RPG Maker. That's what I'm.
Yeah, I would agree, and that's partially why like I'm having to when I say I twisting the arm of the engine, like that's like why with like so for example, like the tile set system. Like if you use the default tile set system, everything kind of ends up being kind of boxy feeling. But if you wanted to like say make a big round room, a room that was totally round, but like large circumference of the circle, it's actually it's pretty difficult in the tile set system. You either have to take multiple layers just for the wall, or you do a parallax map, and there's disadvantages to doing a parallax map too, but now I can make maps that look different compared to the default system just by doing it straight in Photoshop instead of using the tile set system. But yeah, it's
Okay.
It's what I mean by like, but it's true that their world building is restricted in the engine compared to what it could be for sure.
Okay, let me know if when I put this mic to my face, like, am I getting too loud? Because I have a habit of doing that when I feel like I got a point to make. But okay, cool. I don't want you to get world building confused with actually building the world in RPG Maker. You know what I mean? Like mechanically building the world, like it's just an element of world building, but like world building is considering the lore.
Yeah,
Somebody said it should be
vision in your head of the world you're trying to portray in your story or whatever. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's like if storytelling is the spider, world building is the web.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's all.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. I agree.
Deep. That was deep.
Imagine how good my game gonna be when that joint drop though.
We'll see. Everybody and their mama says that, man. Everybody and their mama says
It's gonna be
that.
When do you anticipate a beta test first release?
Early 2025. It's like I think y'all one of them Capcom.
That's around the corner. That
It's right around the corner. It comes sooner than you think, for sure. Always. The date you think you can get it done by, it ends up being like, oh man, I thought I could get it done by then, but oh man, I can't. But yeah, it always takes me longer than I expect. But I do get faster over time. So, are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's move on.
Sure. Let's move on. Educational value. I think that RPG Maker is very good for this. The RPG Maker is how I learned how to like get actually semi decent with like actually coding and stuff like that, because it took away like the intimidation of having to code raw from the start and get your brain to think in terms of the logic. of it without the threatening nature of, or the intimidating, not threatening, but like intimidating nature or daunting nature of having to like learn that all from scratch. Right, and this slide says your brain on RPG Maker. I was just kidding with it, yeah. But in any case, I actually think that something like this tool, I think RPG Maker should definitely be like something that they have like kids do in school if they're trying to like learn, like they're young and they're trying to learn like programming and stuff. Get them started on something fun like making a game for the class or something. And,
Yeah.
and they get started on that logic really early in their life, and then it'll be a lot easier for them to get fancier with their code later in life. I definitely think that the engine has a lot of educational value that is not being tapped fully. I think people don't think of it like that, but this type of engine is a very good engine for like if people are trying to learn how the basics of development without getting stuck on the nitty-gritty details right out the door, you know.
Yeah, I agree. My bad if I'm jumping in.
No, it's fine.
But if anybody's heard of Scratch, Scratch is what schools are using now to teach kids, right?
What is Scratch? I've never heard of
Oh
it.
goodness, it's some kind of script. I don't know. Like if coding, control structures and variables and commands and stuff were like Legos. You drag and drop them into like a window, and it's different colors and junk.
Okay.
And you can make games out of it. Not games that you can put on PlayStation and nothing like that, but like people make games like somebody made Elden Ring right out of Scratch, but it's just 2D and then junk like that. So it's funny, but yeah, it's funny to be able to say somebody made that. So I see where Scratch is useful. I think it's like useful, but RPG Maker almost even more so
Yeah.
because you probably can't make the same type of game specifically that Scratch can make, and Scratch is a little bit more like the tools are on the table, but getting that feedback loop going for sure, it's like an alternate option. Maybe you would get the kids showing them what Scratch is because they've got to understand like algorithms and junk. But then after that, hey, y'all want to jump in? Boom, you show them the RPG Maker. I think, heck yeah, for sure. Dang, I forgot my point. What you think, D7? I forgot the point I was going to make.
Educational value, just like piggybacking off Psychronic. I seen it with my own eyes. You know what I mean? Like how some of these developers just started off and now they're making quality games. We'll use Harlequin for example. Harlequin, I played this first game. What was it called? Dungeon Rummage, another Isekai, and it was a knock game. You know what I mean? It was a knock game, and throughout the years, his development skills got better. He learned better tips and tricks, and now look at the games that he's making. He's making high quality games. So education value is definitely there. It still takes the same concept of you as an individual want to learn and want to evolve. You know what I mean? Like we could be sent to school for something. It's up to us to learn as much as we can. And the same thing with RPG Maker. We have to learn the tools, the tricks, the definition. It's basically a free course that you get for free. So not only you guys, maybe Psychronic, he's more comfortable helping others. You know what I mean? He has that educational value where he can make tile sets. He shares tile sets. He's making plugins. He learned how to do JavaScript. I'm not sure he know how to do it fully, but he could, like fix it and make workarounds where it could work with his game. you could definitely learn a lot, and that's good with RPG Maker because RPG Maker is a book of dummies, a book for dummies, like it's an engine for dummies. I'm sorry, I'm not calling you guys dummies, but
It's
it
an
turns
engine that a dummy could use. Yeah.
yeah, it's the engine for dummies. But after a few months, you gonna feel like, oh man, you got this thing mastered.
I'm
You-
triggered. I'm offended. I'm
and and
triggered.
and you just zipping through it. You know what you're talking about. You answering questions. Now you become the teacher. Now you're teaching others how to become
And
better developers.
partially my motivation for having that mindset is because I've been using RPG Maker for a long time, like 25 plus years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of things that I wish I would have learned sooner, like things that like it took me 15 years of just playing with it on my own, and then oh, I didn't know I could do that. That's really cool. And then I'm just trying to help other people get there faster, so it doesn't take them 25 years, and
Mm-hmm.
you know that's where I'm at.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
that chat is making some good points. So they reminded me of the one point I want to make regarding JavaScript, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ain't wrote as much JavaScript as I've ever written in other like web programs and stuff like that, like literal web applications. I'm a web application developer, and I've written more JavaScript in my RPG Maker game. Um, so I think that's saying a lot, right? Because the interest is there, so I can practice like, and I feel like what I'm writing, it's enjoyable to do, and that's hard, right? So, but also learning, it's like when it's fun to learn, you learn better.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, I think
faster.
yeah, for sure. Um, Plugins. Yeah, I ain't make no plugins for Godot or Unity, another other engines I ever use. But when I seen how somebody made a plugin, like I think when I looked at the Yanfly plugin, I just copied that joint, and I'm like, oh look, now I got a plugin too, and I learned how to do it. So yeah, I think educational value is kind of like low key, exponentially uh large, right? Like at first I was looking at this topic like, psh, man, educational value, psh, come on. We're RPG makers. We don't care about learning because we making it in a simple engine, but low key, now I feel like I go back into those engines with way more confidence because I'm like, I made plugins for RPG Maker. I mean, I could figure this out. I'm using
Mm-hmm.
GD script and stuff like that. So
I found that the skills transfer over in a lot of other areas of life. So for me, anyway, because I work as an IT, so I'm basically a generalist. So I do like web development. I do networking. I do like servers, whatever, data center type work, whatever. So working in RPG Maker has helped me in all these other areas as well. And also, as a side note to the RPG Maker part, but just the game development part in general, other aspects like when I release my game, like learning how to market my game and things like that. Like those are skills I didn't have. And I still am not the best at it, but I'm getting better. And this translates over into other areas. Like if I'm working for another organization and you're trying to market for them, then you've already done a little bit of it yourself. Or if you're trying to make something artistic for some other area in life, you've already done it with your RPG Maker game. So I find it like the most efficient way to just learn to get decent at learning like 10 or 12 different skills at the same time in the most efficient way possible, just making something fun, right? And then obviously if you go to doing something a little more boring, like let's say you're working on like accounting software or something, it's actually easier, but it's less fun after you've challenged yourself with, you know, what you're doing with with RPG Maker or any other engine really. Like you get better over time with practice. And yeah, I'm having fun now that I can make plugins. Like there was a time where I just didn't know how to do that and looked at it and my mind just went blank and I can't do this. I just need to find one. And then now I can actually systematically figure out how to build something that's custom and take it to the next level. So that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm really excited about in the future development going forward.
See, and this is a good thing with what you said, Psychronic, because the things that you are learning, and you are a commercial developer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teaching yourself, learning yourself, using tools that educate yourself, and we know what the tools are. You know, we don't really gotta, go into details about it, but you're saving so much money on your project, where a person who is using RPG Maker has the education, value on how to create a game, but they get stuck. They get
And I
stuck
used to
because
get stuck too. Yeah, a lot of
they,
times. Yeah.
they don't have a plug-in. They get stuck because they don't know how to make certain sprites or tile sets, to enhance their game, to make their game different. So now they're forced to buy the popular tile sets, Winlu, FSM, and the others. They're forced to do those things. So now their game almost look like somebody else's game. Their sprites almost look like somebody else's sprites. You know what I mean? It's what y'all was calling it earlier, asset flipping in a way. Character flipping. They just got a different name. But this what separates a developer from other developers, is when they know how to do their own stuff without having to spend the extra money to get people to do it.
And it's
But
not even about the money too. Sometimes I don't. I do spend money on other people to help me with my game too. On different.
yeah,
little things.
not you though, but other people
Yeah.
that has who don't have money,
But like
may
for
not have
time,
it
like it
and the
takes
time.
it's able to get done so much faster when you can take 3 or 4 different skill areas and be able to do it all at the same time. It just makes it go faster, right? So
Yeah, I don't care I don't care your sprites look childish.
yeah.
If you learn how to do it and create it, you're winning.
Hmm.
And Harlequin may say, how they winning, how they winning, how they winning. It still look like jank. But the fact that they did it and they could improve it and get better over time, they're ahead of the game. And when they make that true commercial game, they're gonna stand out.
Yep. Indeed.
And all because of RPG Maker that set the foundation. Like really, like you gotta respect RPG Maker at the end of the day. A lot of people may not respect it. They may not call it a true engine, but at the same time, look what it's doing to people, and it's definitely changing people's lives,
For
to
sure.
be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Dang, that's probably low key top tier RPG Maker in that category. RPG Maker probably top tier in education. Boom.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
sir. All right.
So, are we ready to move on to the
Move on.
RPG Maker success stories?
Dun dun
So
dun.
let's talk about, like, this is supposed to be like a victory dance or some shit, but what are some examples that we can think of successful RPG Maker games? There are a few of them out there, right? Like that have made millions of dollars and stuff, like, and they got like a lot of people to play them, right?
Who made millions?
I don't know. Like, there's got to be some one. There's a few. There's a few of them out there, right? Like, what about?
I'm going to call a success story is when you finish a project and did what you
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah. There's levels of success. That's for sure.
But game wise, well, you got Amori, you got To the Moon, you got Beloved Rapture that just came out. You have several others. Those the ones that stand out. You got Wind Riders game. You got not sure how successful that was, but you got Wooden Ocean by Ian. He said he made 2,000 that week. That's last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And that game been out for a while.
Yeah, so far my games have brought in about 10,800 ish.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lisa was the first. Lisa was really the first RPG Maker game. MV, I think it was made one of those engine. Lisa, I seen it. Wasn't that like a horror game or something like that? And RFL. RFL is a pretty fun game. What else? What else? RPG Maker game. What's the one? Dang it. It's a lot of good ones. It's a lot of good ones to name a few. Corpse Party. How much did Corpse Party make?
I haven't heard of that game.
Oh, it's the one like it man. It looks good, man. It looks good. I don't think that's stream safe for me.
It's called
Corpse Party.
Or
Yeah,
Court.
like a dead person, a corpse,
Oh, Corpse Party.
torture souls. Is that what it's called? Corpse Party.
I see Corpse Party on Steam. Okay, yeah, I see that it's got like almost 1,000 reviews on it, so that's relatively successful. Yeah.
Mango Mischief was pretty successful. It had a successful Kickstarter. Mango Mischief.
How much did the Kickstarter get for Mango Mischief?
About 1,000, 14,
Oh,
1,500.
yeah. But it just looks like a regular RPG Maker game. I don't know if I'd call Mango.
What about dang. See, my mind is all tore up.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern for me is like what do you consider success? People consider success different things.
Yeah.
For me, I can. That's a good point. And like for me, what I would consider success for my project is if a lot of people played it and liked it and remembered it, and then it didn't just fade away over time. That would be success for me. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get a lot of sales if I do succeed. For example, even like Chrono Trigger, when it first came out, it wasn't really the biggest seller. Like when it first came out, it got bigger later, right? So, so for me, it's about the quality of the game being such that it's good enough to be remembered by others and played by others after it's done. Yeah.
Well, we talking about Square Enix and a good artist such as Akira Toriyama, who drew the character art. Those games definitely gonna go down in time. Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7. Those are bigger companies. But when you're talking about a small RPG Maker company as your guys, some going to stand out. And right now, the only ones you could think of is the Omori. Basically, the Omori. That's all. That's pretty much what everyone is talking about. But I haven't personally played Omori. I seen Real Tron play it. I seen Drifty play it. But I feel like there's other games out there that's better and it sees Omori in terms of style and my preferences. But whatever the developer did for Omori, did it 100% correct. And that all comes down to marketing. You can have a great game, but if you don't market it correctly, who's going to know about your game? Who's going to, share it? tell others, where others become millions of people. You know, if you don't have that, so if you don't work on that or you don't understand that and educate yourself, then your game is just going to sit there. You know, you're just going to pay $100 on Steam, you know, to put your game up there, and you're going to be praying that you make your money back at least. You know what I mean?
And then on the day of release, nobody sees your game because doesn't
Nobody
show up.
sees your game because you release your game on the same day Call of Duty Grand Theft Auto 6 releases their game.
Yeah.
You know, and your game just going to get buried. And that's what a lot of developers do in the RPG Maker community that I do see. They create these nice looking games, but they don't promote it the way that it needs to be promoted. They just hoping somebody download their game. And if you go to itch.io right now, you could probably find 50 or 60 or 80,000 RPG Maker games that's on top of yours.
Yeah. Yep. And also when it comes to the game marketing side, that it's one of those things too, that one thing I learned about launching, because I've launched 2 games already, is a lot of it is really geared toward the launch. Like once your game is launched, it's old news. So there's like a brief window of time before and then right after you release your game to create like somewhat of a snowball effect. But if that snowball effect doesn't happen, then nobody is going to find it. And then theoretically somebody could find it later, but it just gets buried, you know. So and you know, a lot of people are really good at developing a game, but that whole skill set is a different skill set altogether, and it takes, you know, working with the right people or like the right publisher, or it takes, you know, practice, whatever. But that's why, you know, with myself, I'm releasing, you know, I've learned a lot with each launch, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm hoping that by the time I release my larger project, that is a successful launch. If I had waited and I had just waited to build like the one master game, I would have gotten all the way to completion of the game and then not learned any of those other skills that might help me market my bigger game later, right? So I'm learning that personally right now, but yeah, it's a whole different skill set.
All right, Unjaded has an event he has to go to. We only got one more topic.
The last topic is overall. So we're kind of near the end here, because overall is kind of like after we've talked about these various categories. We can share what we think about the engine overall, whether it is the best engine or whether it's not, and yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna just throw my 2 cents in. My bad. So,
Go ahead.
because I didn't get to speak on the last topic either. But anyway, right? Like, a success story is kind of what you make it. But think about RPG Maker is it's easy to make that. I feel like it's easy to make a success story, because of the tools and stuff that's already provided for an RPG. As 2D, it alleviates a lot of the problems, hassles of learning mechanically how a game should function. But you got new challenges, like how am I going to stand above the rest, and I'm going to make this game fun. It's a legit challenge in RPG Maker sometimes, right? Especially with the other genres. Like, imagine you ain't going to put this RPG Maker game next to Grand Theft Auto 6, right? Like, and be like, well, I'd rather get Shrine's Legacy 29 HD, you know, remake part 2, you know, volume 1. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that it in one way it allows you to try to, you know, master those chops of, okay, how can I get better at marketing the game? How can I dip my toe in the industry and produce something if that's the, you know, that's the route I want to go? It allows you to make something a little more faster, even if your schedule's a little more hectic, right? You don't got to sit there and try to figure out why your 3D model isn't rendering, because some occlusion mapping filter you put on or whatever and all this crap, right? You don't need to care about that. So, yeah, overall, I think like it's top tier in some of the areas that we mentioned, but it's for good reason falling short in others. That one community though is my biggest concern, where I hope it doesn't die because of the community being too weak. What y'all think?
Yeah, I think RPG Maker overall is a good engine. I do think it's a professional engine. It is. It's basic. It has its limitations, but those limitations are also its strength as well, because you're sacrificing some complexity that you can do with it, but at the same time you can still do a lot with it, and you can do it with very little overhead, and you can get started very quickly, and you can get a lot done efficiently with it as an engine, and that's why I continue to still use it. As soon as something better comes along that for like the type of game that I'm building and getting online faster, then I'll end up using it. But for now, it's RPG Maker all the way for me, and I think it's a great engine. I have a lot of fun with it. I think some of its reputation. I think it's actually kind of underrated. I think its reputation is simply because of the ease of use to make a game. That there's just a lot of games that suck that have been made with it. But that doesn't mean you can't make a game that is beloved and that tons of people play and looks like a professional indie game and isn't relegated to being classified as an RPG Maker game. I just think it still comes down at the end of the day. It comes down to your creativity and your drive to build the project you want to build, whether it's RPG Maker or any other engine. But I think RPG Maker helps you get started better, faster, and if you already know the engine, you can move pretty quickly with it compared to a lot of other engines, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think overall, I keep coming back to it because it's the best. It's the best for what it does. There's certain like things that it's not good for, and that's why But for the type of thing that I'm making, it is good for that. So that's why I keep using it. But yeah, that's my opinion.
All right, D7, take us home.
I think overall, whether you're using RPG Maker, you can have a successful game. You can have a beautiful game and don't even realize that it's made in RPG Maker. The problem is, people need to push themselves the extra mile in order to have that fresh taste and escape that stigma. If you're staying within that stigma, that's on you. That's your decision. RPG Maker is just the developers had it in mind to give you the basic bare bones tools that you need to create a game. And this is why I said there's a lot of people took advantage of this situation and created those assets. Of course, they charge money for it, but they're giving you a avenue to make your game look different. If you stay with the RTP, you stay with the RTP. If you go with somebody else, what they're using, you just go with somebody else they're using. You know the risk, but you still decide to take the risk. You still decide to go commercial and create a game with it. But if your game don't do good, that's on you in the end, because really the power is in your hands. The power is in your hands. Sometimes you just got to go the extra mile and do the most to make your game fun. Now, RPG Maker stigma is real, but at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that you got to label your game as RPG Maker. You use an RPG Maker, but you don't have to say, "Oh, yeah, I'm making my game with RPG Maker." People just use the Unity tags and the Unreal tags because those are more prominent engines that people play with. So of course they want to use those and use that badge, but necessarily using the RPG Maker that label is, is not saying it's bad, but it's not advisable if you want to, like, stay within under that radar, to get people to actually want to try your game. If they know about all RPG Maker games are trash. So it comes to strategizing as well. It comes to strategizing as well and whatnot. But overall, RPG Maker to me is the way to go. You don't have to stay in the RTP. You don't have to stay in that stigma. You could definitely go beyond the beyond and have a successful launch in a successful game, whether you're going commercial or whether you're free to play. It doesn't matter. So we all have to, you know, um, have a different mindset and just do the best that we can.
Hello, Daddy.
Hey, baby.
I get good at karate.
That's all I have to say.
Cool.
Well, thanks for holding the discussion, guys. This was very insightful. Looking forward to the next podcast for sure.
Oh, most
Awesome.
doubt.
Well, you guys everybody have a wonderful week. This is our first discussion episode. There will be more. Hope everybody had a good time and enjoy the rest of your day.
Hold on.
Oh.
You could go, Marlon. We just gonna. I'm gonna try to stay behind and answer some of these questions.
Oh yeah, sure.
But you could go ahead and handle your business, Unjaded.
All right, y'all. Peace out. Have a great night.
So John Erico said, "I like to know their opinion on RPG Maker. What that? Didn't we just answer that?
Probably.
Oh, Tata, what you think about RPG Maker?"
Bad.
She says bad. So.
What's that mean?
It's an engine. It's a game engine. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I feel that you can see what Psychronic is doing with his project. He's trying to not make it look so RTP-ish or RPG Maker-ish.
Yeah, I'm trying.
He's trying, man. He's freaking trying. Who needs a 2.5-hour podcast when the answer was that simple all along? But yeah, I really suggest stop. Do what the big boys do. Create you a publishing company or get with a publishing company. Psychronic has a publishing company. He has a logo. You can have his logo, splash on your screen. Then you create you a logo, a publisher, a company, a gaming company. That way you can have these logos and look professional. If you want to use the RPG Maker badge, that's on you.
Yep.
Or some people just use Kalakawa Games, or was it Gotcha Games? Is that what it is?
The name always changes every couple of years.
Yeah, it's either I seen those tags. I hardly see RPG Maker. You rarely see that, but some people put that as a tag. I guess it's an honest system. They want to be as honest that they can, to promote RPG Maker. But should you? That's the question. Should you do it? That could be another, discussion topic. So,
Nice.
all right. So,
Awesome. Well, are we good? Are we good to go?
I'm good, my
We're good
guy.
to go. Okay.
I'm good. So,
We'll see you all on the next one. Good. Have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Stay safe, be well. Good luck. Take it easy. Goodbye.
Peace.